Talking sexy, talking self-care. It's your sexy self-care, sexy self-care.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of My Sexy Self-Care. Today we have a special episode. We have our first interview with Diana Argueta. She has a very interesting and exciting story of the evolution of her sexual journey. So we'll be discussing that, a few trigger warnings. In addition to sexual content, we do touch on the topics of sexual molestation and suicide. So if those are extremely sensitive topics for you, you might want to refrain from listening. But I do think you will find the interview refreshing and healing. So without further ado, here it is. Today we have a special guest who is Diana. And Diana is one of my closest chosen family members. And even though she's young, she's had quite an exciting journey so far of her sexuality. So this interview and all the interviews I do are based on mutual consent and what I call continued mutual consent. So one of my objectives on this podcast is to be as vulnerable and honest about myself as possible. And one of the ways I want to encourage my guests to do that is they will also approve the final version of this podcast. It's going to be a mutually consensual interview that will exist. And if it's up and it's published, and it's there 10 years later, it means we both are still consenting to it being up. That's how I conduct this interview, but that's how I want to conduct all my interviews with all my guests. So I first met Diana, and she was, how old were you, 19, 18?
I was 19
years old.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a house cleaner that lived close to me, so I posted on Nextdoor, and she had never done it before. And I just remember this girl walking into my house. I could only imagine her thoughts because I live very differently there. Sometimes there's sex toys out. Sometimes there's like massage tables and stuff. I didn't hide anything from her. And what did you think when you started like
I remember I was just like intrigued as fuck. Like I was just like so curious. Like I was always just like, because we weren't friends yet. So I would literally, I think I was coming like 3 times a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And every time like I would walk in, it was like something new, like for the most part. And I would just kind of be like, what goes on here?
The other thing too is she communicated me pretty early, like, oh, you can trust me to, like if I'm in your house, like for whatever. And I felt that. So I'm like, okay. So I just trusted her with everything. And then that kind of started really the beginning of a relationship. And then we slowly became friends and over time. And yeah, now she's one of my closest peeps.
Here we are now. We just went to EDC together.
Yes.
Like...
Oh, so let's tell them too. I brought her to EDC for the first time with my other close friends and brother. How would you explain that to somebody who's never been to EDC?
I feel like it's kind of like what I keep telling people is like it's kind of indescribable. Like when you first walk in, like it's nothing like what you imagine, honestly. Like not even just in terms of like, the visuals and just like all the LED, like the neon stuff. It's just like really just that vibe. And it really was true that it's like everyone is just so like happy, welcoming. And like I definitely consider myself like a pinnacle, I don't know if that's the word, of like positivity and just like acceptance, like no judgment. Like I'm just so like open and loving. And like this was literally a whole festival
full of people.
That vibe.
It's also very interesting. It's also a place where people feel safe to express their sexuality a lot. Like there are so many girls and guys dressed in lingerie or something sexy. Like it gives them freedom to be their sexy self in this environment because there's no threat of harassment. There's no threat of like inappropriate remarks or things, and it's really because everybody's in that vibe. That was another thing that is really a cool thing there, is people can dress any fucking way they want. Not only do they not have judgment, people will cheer you for being brave or sexy and be like, oh, that looks so hot, you look great, look great. It's like a festival of people who just like to compliment you.
Yeah,
You
it's like what's the plur?
Yeah.
Plur? Yep, like peace, love, unity, respect. That's like the motto there,
the
and
principles.
like yeah. So I just loved seeing people like, as a low key furry, not to get into that, but it's like seeing like furries walking around like with their little like snout masks on, like women like holding a man on a leash, and just like people just like looking just like so good like in their little rave outfits, and I was just like, oh my god, like everyone is welcome here. And I think they have that like on a,
all
like
are
on
welcome.
a sign or something,
that's
like all are
like
welcome here.
Another principle of theirs, all are welcome.
It's like feeling that music, like it's just dancing is just so powerful. I don't know, I loved it.
And as much as we can communicate, you won't really understand it until you experience it. It's one of those things. There's very few things like that where it's like, as much as you describe it, you won't actually understand until you experience it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about your journey of sexuality. All right. So when was the first time, or did you ever like a boy or a girl when you were younger, or?
It's kind of interesting. So a little bit about me is for literally until maybe last year, I'm not even kidding. I identified as aromantic and asexual. So I know that we did have like a lot of conversations about that before, but so it's really weird because growing up, I was so different compared to other people. Like, I remember in middle school, like my friends would like be like talking about boys all the time and like wanted to like get a boyfriend and stuff, like kiss and stuff. And I was kind of just like, I can like try to pretend, but like I'm not really like feeling this. Like I think my first interaction with like kind of experiencing romance, I guess, was like when I was in the 3rd grade. There was this boy that had a crush on me, and I remember that was like my first kiss because he just always like was trying to like come at me, and I was just like, ew, like no, like I don't like you. And then one day like on the playground, I was just like sitting down, and he just like came up and just like kissed me on the lips, and I was just like, ugh, like like ew. And I was just like, that's disgusting. Like, and so like while everyone's just like, oh, like cute, like he likes you, I'm just like, ew, like get over it.
Did that make you feel like different? Like, is there something wrong with me?
Not really. Maybe not at the time, because I didn't know that everyone for majority was like liking people or like had like crushes. And like I know like some people talk about like as early as 5 they like liked a girl, and I was just like, no, like I'm good, I'm kind of just all about me and just being a kid and whatever. And then in middle school, like I remember I had like this best friend who was a guy, and we'd like talked all the time, and it was one of those things where like people just like always thought we had something going on. And then I was just like, no, like that's just like my friend. And then he would like have girlfriends, and it was always like a weird thing of like, oh, but like there's this friend that you're also really close with. And I was just like, yeah, but, and I feel like people always say like, especially for guys who have like girl best friends or whatever, they're just like, oh, like when they do find a girlfriend, it's hard for the girlfriend not to see the best friend as like a threat. But I was just like genuinely like not even seeing that aspect of it. Like I was just like, that's just my friend, man. Like I don't know.
Did he like you at all?
I don't think so. He never told me.
Okay.
At least, I was like, we were just cool. We would just hang out. Like, we were like a little group of friends. Like, but we would just like talk all day, talk all night. So.
You want to smoke a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'm down. Yeah.
Here, go for it. I'm just gonna hit some of yours too. I'm gonna just have a little bit. So let's back up then. Since your desire for people came later, much later in life, let's start younger. Like, what about when you were younger? Did you discover your body? Like, did you masturbate early? Did you ever like do something that was like, what was your relationship to your sexual body when you were younger? Did you like how old were you when you first masturbated?
Oh my God. Okay. So this part I kind of want to tell you, but I don't want to have it. I know I don't want to have it in here. But actually my first time discovering my body and like that sex feels good was when I was 6. This is I remember like me and found some Girls Gone Wild videos, and like all the adults were like in the living room like watching TV or something, and we were like, oh, like what's this? Yeah, so we like turned it on, and then we were like, oh my God, like this, like these people are naked. We're not supposed to be watching this, but we wanted to. Yeah. So that was my thing where it was like, ooh, kind of like even just that first feeling of like shame, being like, whoa, what is this? But oh, I know I shouldn't be watching this though. So yeah, that was when I was, like 6. And then we kind of just like, this part I definitely don't want to hear, but it's like we kind of explored with each other, just like trying to mimic what they were doing like in the porn video. And then that was my first time being like, whoa, like
kind of sexual.
What's all this then? Yeah, with like my body. So that was weird when I look back at like we were kids. I don't know.
So I'll tell you part of my fucking thing. So, and I don't know, I'll keep this in either, but when I was a kid, there were times like I'm a little horny kid and you just kind of like, I don't know, same kind of thing. You're like, oh, I don't know. Well, you feel like, does this feel good? Does that feel good? And you kind of, play with each other in a sexy way because it feels good, and I know that it's almost like as you get older, you kind of realize how not a big deal it was versus when you do it. And then is like afterwards, you might feel like, oh shit, I know this is completely wrong. It feels like so wrong or so I had like guilt from it, but you can imagine it's probably very normal. It's just that it's not talked about, it's shamed. And so people feel even more shamed if they had engaged in that.
Now I'm kind of like, this is a good topic to have in here, but did anyone ever find out about that?
No. Well, I would actually tell, I've told partners before, but no one besides former close partners.
Because now I wonder if that's what kind of like, in my sexuality journey, because I know I'm going to talk more about it, but like maybe did affect me into being like, oh, sex is like a shameful, like weird thing, because we did get caught.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We got caught. And I remember we like got in trouble. It was like a whole thing. Like everyone was just like, you guys are disgusting. So I was like a little kid hearing this. And then I remember just being like, damn, like I'm really in trouble for this. Like, I guess, I just shouldn't be doing that. But I think as I got older, I was like, okay, no, it's because I was a literal kid and they were like, girl, stop doing that. Like, but that was embarrassing.
I think that's
very shameful.
Yeah, based on just people's reaction to it, right? It's almost like as a little kid, you don't necessarily feel shame, but when everyone tells you you're supposed to feel shameful, then you're kind of like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to feel shameful, and then you feel shameful. So it's a really strange experience because you're almost artificially made to feel bad about it. Right. And instead of saying like, I mean, I don't know, how would you say that? How would you say that to, so imagine you have kids someday and then they find it. You don't want them to feel like you felt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't.
So I mean, that's the thing. That's tough because I'm like, obviously I would want to be like, don't play with each other, but like, this like sex, maybe that's just time to have the sex talk, like a real adult sex talk about like, yes, like touching your body feels good and like I'm not gonna judge you for it, like you're a growing kid, you can do what you want, so
touch your body, but maybe you have to wait till you're older to touch other people. Yes. Right. Had you like masturbated before that or anything, or was that kind of
that was
your first
my
like, oh, this feels
introduction
good.
And then I think I do remember my first orgasm actually, because so I think it was a while until I like really started touching myself after that. And then it was when I was 15. I remember I was like fingering myself a lot. And it's funny because I feel like if you know women's anatomy, like just fingering doesn't do anything. Like it's literally I was just putting my finger in. Like no clit work. I didn't know what a clit was yet. So then I remember I was kind of like just doing that a lot, being like, yeah, like this feels good, but like I don't know. And then I found out about the clit. And then I remember, oh God, this is so funny. But there was a period when my mom was pregnant and we like moved to LA with some family members up there, and we were like staying in their house, and I remember their bathtub was like kind of broken. So it just was like a very strong stream of water, like this thick, that just shot out straight and like curved kinda. And I remember just being like, yeah, what's this? And then I remember I was like showering one day, and then I was just like, I wonder how that would feel like touching me. And then I was kind of learning more about the clit and stuff. So yeah, I just laid down in the bathtub, let it do its thing. And I remember that was insane.
Yeah, that was the
like,
first time you came.
Yeah, because I was at first it was just like literally going into my hole.
Yeah, right.
Which I was like, okay, but then like of course as I'm like adjusting, I was like, wait. Yeah, I was like, what was that? And then I just kept that going for a little bit. I had an orgasm.
Did it freak you out at all?
No, I was just like, I'm gonna do this like every day now. I remember thinking that, being like, ooh, now I know like where I can go for this. But
that's crazy. So my first orgasm was actually at my grandma's house, and I was like, she had this like back massager, old school, probably from the fucking 60s. It was like this round thing. And you know, I guess what happened was over time, she was, she'd use it, and then she's like, oh yeah, this massager feels good on your back and your shoulders, and like, oh, this feels good. And then you just start putting it on all parts of your body. And then to kind of like the thing, like, oh, that fucking feels really good.
Yeah.
So then I was in third grade when this happened.
Oh,
I was young.
God.
So I would use it, but not orgasm. Like I'd use it where I'm like, this feels good. So after school, I would just go and use the vibrator on myself, just watching TV because it felt good. And then one day it was like, oh, this feels good. Oh, the buildup was coming, and it kind of freaked me out. Like, what is happening? What the fuck is happening? But I'm like, it feels good. Because you don't know. It almost feels like you don't know what's happening. I was like, is this my heart ready to explode? Is this like, if I keep going, am I going to just like, something's going to break? Something's going to happen. And then, so I'm like, nope, I'm going to try. So I like put it back on, and then I come, and then we have fucking cum that comes out. So that's the first time you ever see that. And then you're like, what is this? Oh, fuck. And you know it's not pee. And you're like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but it did feel wonderful. And then I'm like, okay. So then I think I talked to my brother about it too. Like, oh, this ever happened? I don't remember what he said.
He's like, what the fuck, your dick exploded or something?
He probably came already. Like he was older, so maybe he's like, yeah, that's fine. Or I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe I just said, fuck it. It feels good. I'm going to keep doing it. So that was my first fucking
That's so funny. No, this is so like funny about me, but maybe I just don't know biology enough, but I was like, 8-year-olds have cum?
I was 10, I think. 9 or 10. But
okay.
It probably wasn't, but there's also fluid, maybe, like other just, because cum is not all sperm. It's also like semen fluid, or there's other. So maybe that's what it was. Because I probably wasn't really in puberty or just started it. So yeah, it was interesting.
That was a dumbass.
Okay, so
for me to say.
Okay, so this is fascinating. You had your first orgasm when you're 15, and then you're like, I'm gonna fucking do this a lot. So you probably masturbated a lot once you knew how to do that.
Yeah, and we were only there for like a month, so that was like a very crazy month for me. And then, but that was also like, but that was also the first time I remember, maybe this was like my like journey into womanhood or whatever. Cause on the way to, when we were moving to LA, like I got my period, and that was the first time that I was like, we were at a gas station and I was like, Mom, I'm buying tampons. And she's like, no, you're not. Like you can't put that inside you. Like you're like only, you know, like big women who have, yeah. Like she was like, you're too young. And I was just like, no, like my period is like really, like I had really heavy periods. So I was like, I don't want to be struggling with that. So I'm going to just try it. I feel like for a lot of girls growing up, there is a whole thing between like tampons versus pads. But pads are like super uncomfortable personally.
Is there an aversion to tampons if you're not used to putting something up? Like, does it feel like...
No, it's like, it's
like, why would your mom say, oh, no? Because
of that, it's like a misconception, I would say, that like you shouldn't wear tampons like until you've had sex or something. Because people are like, no, like if you're a virgin, like it's going to take your virginity, like it's going to hurt. But I'm like, no, it's fucking
retarded. If you're keeping your virginity, it should be for you, not for someone else, right?
Or not even for a tampon. Yeah, like that's the thing. But yeah, that was one of those cool things where I was just like, I'm becoming a woman now. I just used a tampon. I'm coming now. So you discovered the pleasure of masturbation, but you also had an aversion, like you didn't desire boys or girls. So did that ever have a conflict? Like, or were you just like, no, I'll pleasure myself till I'm forever, and I just will never have someone else pleasure me? You didn't have was there any thought of like, oh, it'd be really cool if someone pleasured me and I didn't do anything? You didn't have any of that? Not really, no. Like, okay, this is really funny, but I think the most sexual minded I was at that point was like, I was really into One Direction, and I was just like, I had like a fan account, like I was like homeschooled at the time too, so all my life was just fucking Twitter. So all I did was like read fan fiction about One Direction, and that would like get me like really fucking horny, because but then I would like genuinely imagine my delusional ass. I was like, but one day, like, what if I actually do have sex with Niall, like from the band? But other people, I was like, no.
So you were kind of okay with that.
Yeah, like I literally was just riding on this delusion of like, I'm gonna be a famous actress one day, and I'm gonna just like only fuck celebrities, and like specifically Niall Horan. So yeah, that was my thing, but I wasn't really thinking about anyone else. And I feel like at the same time with that delusion, I had like the 50-50 of like, okay, but there's a chance that's not gonna happen. Of course, that's what happened. But so I was just like, yeah, but if I'm not gonna have Niall, then I don't want to.
Yeah, but you act like you should say yet. I haven't had him yet, because you still have you never know. Let me tell you something. If you tell yourself it won't happen, it won't happen. If you just say, well, it hasn't happened yet, then you leave the possibility that you might fuck someday.
That's such.
And you totally fuck him still. No.
No.
No. Sorry, Niall.
Irishman. Yeah, sorry. My bad.
Okay.
But yeah, so. Yeah, I was just reading fan fiction and never had it in my mind like I'm gonna get married, have kids, none of that. Like I was just like, I'm good being solo. And then I think the most like curious I got was kind of just like in like towards the end of my senior year when I was 17. Like I was just like, maybe I was just trying to follow the hype or whatever. But everyone was talking about like Tinder or whatever, meeting up, like all my friends were hooking up, and I was like, I kind of want to like do that too. And I was definitely way too young to be on there. Like this is so horrible to say, I do not suggest this, but I definitely like faked my age on there, because I was just like, yeah, I'm 18, whatever. Like I was like 2 months away or something, which is really fucked up looking back. So I'm like, sorry, but I didn't really affect anyone, hopefully.
All that matters is what affects you.
Yeah, exactly. But,
so did you hook up with people on Tinder?
No, but I would just like be like talking and like sexting with people all the time. And that was really interesting, because I would just like literally read whatever they were saying and like laugh.
Yeah.
And just like use my like fan fiction brain to like respond, like if like I'm role playing or something, like genuinely, because I just couldn't be natural about it at all. But yeah, I never really had a crush, none of that, like desire for other people. Like I really was just like really good with masturbating, like especially after I found out about my clit. Then
did you, so the term asexual,
yeah,
that's not something you knew as a 10-year-old or probably even 15-year-old, like where did you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I just am this way?
I guess looking back, like, I am going to talk about some trauma.
Yeah, definitely.
So, because I feel like I went through some like childhood sexual abuse
How
that
old-
just like
how old were you?
definitely. So it happened twice. The first time was when I was 10, I got molested. And then that like when I look back, I'm like, maybe it definitely did affect my views like within myself about like feeling shameful like with touch and just like liking boys and stuff. Cause I was just like, I had already been in the experience where like someone was forceful with me about it, where like I didn't want it or consent to it at all. And they were just like, no, like I'm gonna do this. So I think
Damn.
that definitely fucked up my view
Yeah.
on just like sex and like
Yeah,
romance.
it probably also reinforced it because before that you didn't really like boys. You're just like, they're grody and I don't feel desire.
Like even it's almost fucked up because before that, like my first experience was when like that boy liked me in third grade and also just kissed me, and I was like,
Ew.
ew, like I didn't want that. So
it felt like a reinforcer of that, but obviously in a much more intense way.
that definitely, and that was when I was 10. So of course that already happened by the time I was in middle school, and all my friends are like, I want to kiss boys, whatever. And I was like, I'm kind of okay. So then, yeah, I just maybe got into this fantasy about like Nile. And then, unfortunately, maybe around like, yeah, when I was like also 15, after I had just had my first orgasm, I was molested again by a different person. And that went on for like a couple years where I was just like in secret
Yeah.
because I just
Damn,
like
a couple years.
was so like it ended when I was like 17, and it only ended because I was so terrified that like when I turned 18 he would actually like have sex with me. So by the time I was like 17 and I had my own car, I was just like, I'm gonna do like whatever possible to like not be around him at all, because when it started, like this was a person who unfortunately was very close to my family. So I like he would like literally pick me up from school, like he was at my house all the time, like he would just come by whenever. So it was really hard, and I was just like, oh fuck, like how do I even like, even though, because I feel like my experience with like when I was 10 was kind of weird just in terms of like my mom like was, I guess, supportive, but I guess like it wasn't like as open as I was still really scared basically. So I was just like, and especially this was a person who was like way more close to my family. So I was like, this is gonna like ruin everything. If like, even though he was the person who made those decisions to like ruin his fucking like ruin our lives and like just like the relationship that we all had, like I was just like, if I come out about this, like everything's gonna just blow up. And I was just so scared of that. So yeah, I think that, and then it really did end like when I was around 17. I just stayed away from him as much as possible. I was kind of like really weird with like touch in general. Like I definitely for until recently had like a lot of things against people like laying on top of me. Like I was just like, that was like a huge trigger. Even like kissing, I didn't really like it. Like I was just like, I don't know, like it's like just it was really unfortunate. But every time like people like tried to like be like persistent with me or just like flirt with me, like touch me or whatever, like it just took me back to like what I was experiencing, and just like those nasty feelings where I was just like, oh, I really don't want this. So that really sucked. But funny enough, even though that had all like just happened and I was still very fresh in it, I think it was like right after I turned 18, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have sex. So somehow I like got myself like really up in that energy. And then I remember I went to this New Year's party and I think I've told you this story, but I had a really crazy night basically.
Tell me again.
Where so mind you, yeah, this is me who's just like, I don't know, like I don't really like boys, whatever, but I'm kind of like, even though I had a really weird thing with touch, I was just like, I kind of also want to like maybe just try to break out of that. And like maybe if I like just have experiences with other people, then it'll like erase that bad experience. So I went to this party, and that was my first time like
you were 18?
yeah, I was 18. and I like sucked this guy's dick first, and then after that I like went and like had sex with another guy in the bathroom.
wait, slow down, slow down.
Sorry.
Explain to me then. So it's a New Year's party, like high school friends.
The person having the party was friends with my friend's older sister, so that's how we were there. So everyone was like older than us.
Do you remember how you approached the guy? They just
It
flirted,
just
and then
all
it's like
happened. I didn't even flirt with them. Like I was pretty drunk, I
Okay.
will say, but like not blacked
Yeah.
out. Like I definitely do remember what went on, but I remember there was a point that I was like talking to one of the guys, and we were just like in the room alone together, like first red flag. And then I just
But you know what you were doing.
it just came up.
So it wasn't. It was like
I was just like, yeah, why not? Yeah, like that seems fun. Like let me just try it. And
so
then
you gave the guy head.
yeah, and then he didn't finish. We were kind of just like, like I was just like, I'm not really liking
Yeah.
this. Like whatever, I'm gonna just. So then I went out.
You're like,
Yeah, bye. And then I went out to the bathroom. Oh no, I was kind of in the living room, and then I like found this guy. We were kind of just dancing. Then we go into the bathroom, start having sex, and then but at that point, like my friends were kind of like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so they like literally like busted the door open and like kicked him out, and I was just like,
they were
"Oh
trying
shit!"
to protect you, thinking like he's like
taking
Yeah.
advantage or something. Yeah, but I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like my bad. So then I just like, yeah, that was crazy if I think about it. And then I just like took a shower. And then I was like, wow, well, that happened. I just had sex. And then the next morning, like I was still there, and there was like this other guy. And then I just like, I was on some crazy shit. I like gave him a hand job because we were like laying in bed together. So yeah, I had a
Interesting.
really, really wild night where I tried it
Yeah,
all.
sure.
I did it all.
with
I did it
multiple
all.
people.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
So
great.
but I didn't really like kiss
Yeah.
or anything. Yeah, I didn't kiss them.
Do you think it was also like you think it's definitely influenced by the fact that you're like, maybe if I fuck a lot of guys,
Yeah.
the more I be sexual with people I'm consenting with, then maybe it'll wash.
It'll
It'll
cancel
cancel
out
out.
2 fucking years of horrible trauma. But so yeah, I think that like I definitely don't condone. I mean, I think looking back, I'm like, okay, she was crazy, but she was just having fun or whatever. But I'm like, damn, like I would not do that now, obviously, like especially with just like random people like that I mean, I don't know, but back then it was just like this normal thing where it was just like where it would talk about like, oh, but did you come? And the girls will be like, no, but it's like, it's just like harder for girls, whatever. Like, and the other factor in that too is just that like a lot of guys just like when they don't know the girl, they just don't give a fuck. Like they don't care if you come
Right,
or
yeah,
not
it's
necessarily.
it's kind of like our culture is like it's
yeah.
about the guys coming, women aren't
Yeah. So yeah, none of my friends were coming. And then I was like, well, let me just try this sexting out and see what happens. And I didn't come, obviously. And I was kind of just like, that kind of was like kind of trash, honestly. Like I was like, I didn't really get anything from that. And I was like, this is like that thing everyone's like talking
It's
about
so
that's
great,
like
yeah.
so great and fun. But I was like, I'm actually good. And then that just like made me think even more, and until I came to the decision, because I was just like, well, I already tried having sex. I tried sucking dick, having a hand job, all of it, and it was like kind of fun in the moment, but it was like I don't really need that.
Desire to want to, I want to do that again.
Yeah, and I was like, I know I don't really want to kiss anyone. Like I was like, kissing is gross because I had been kissed so many times without my consent. And then I was like, and I don't really like guys like embracing me. Like, so I was like, and I don't really want to date anyone. So I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm just not a sexual person. And then I think, obviously I was like on the internet and shit. So like somewhere I found out about the term like asexual, and I was like, oh, I guess like, even though I've tried, like that's kind of me, I guess. Like I was like, yeah, like, and that was really my big thing, was just that like all my friends are not coming. I didn't come during sex, but I can easily make myself come. So I was just like, I'm okay, like just being me. And then with all that, I really was just like, yeah, for the rest of my life, like I don't see why I can't.
And you were very proud of her asexuality. So it's like did you do, I want to say, was there a skit or something about, you did something about asexuality?
So that's, okay, this is a funny thing because cut to present day, I'm not asexual or aromantic. I'm in a very happy relationship, actually. So In 2022, I was in this Latino cabaret with Teatro Nagual here in Sacramento, and they asked me to do like a powerful monologue about like revolution. And so I wrote my friend Jorge actually wrote this thing where I just like kind of like gave him ideas of like what it needed to like be about, where it was just talking about like my life and kind of touched on like, yeah, like trauma with men, how I'm just like whatever the big person. And then at the end, I like proudly am on stage being like, I'm a self-sufficient, asexual, aromantic. Like after giving this whole monologue about like being independent and shit. So yeah, that was like a lot of people remember that. So I'm kind of like, fuck. It's kind of a weird thing. I remember that was my big hesitancy at first, was because I was like, I don't want to be. I can't be open about
being
like
sexual
because everyone like knows me as this thing, and they're all gonna be like, what the fuck? But then I kind of just now was kind of just like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
That's good.
So that was really funny.
Yeah, but hold on. Before you got into a relationship with, talked about where you went from proudly being asexual to, oh, maybe I want to.
And it wasn't until your New Year's party of 2023, I'm like,
yeah, tell us about that.
2023. Yeah. That was last year. So me and Grant, we talk a lot about psychedelics. Like we both love mushrooms. I know you do like Molly and LSD. I know you talk about that a little.
I'm a substance educator in my other world.
So
I'll set it up and then you can take. So I have these psychedelic parties. There's a template to the party, and it's very intentional, and there's no alcohol at these parties. And at the end, everyone's just talking to each other, interacting, and sitting around and enjoying each other really towards the end of the party. Now you take it from there.
It's a amazing fucking experience, I will say. But shout out to your friend Tony. So Grant has this friend. I don't know if we're gonna like blur his name out or if I should use a fake name or something. But and it was just a really good. So I did mushrooms at the party. I did like a pretty low amount too. Like I remember, and I was like wearing a mask also because I was kind of getting over a cold at the time, but I was like, no, I really want to be here. And then Grant has this friend who is also like older. And I remember like, as you know, I think he didn't really know anyone at all.
I had just met him a few months ago, and I knew he hadn't actually never done psychedelics, but he has done other substances, and he didn't drink alcohol, but he wanted to try psychedelics. So I'm like, oh, I got the best place for you to experience psychedelics for the first time, and that's going to be at one of my parties. And so that was his first experience with psychedelics, and he had an amazing time. But then you ended up starting a conversation with him.
Yeah, and it's funny because I realized afterwards that he was like flirting with me, because when we introduced each other, like I was like, oh, like tell me about yourself, and he's like, oh, I'm a sex therapist, and I was like, oh, awesome.
Even though that was just bullshit.
Yeah, that was a lie.
Like...
That was a lie, but low key because of our conversation. But yeah, I found out afterwards he's like an artist, I think, or just something cool. And then so I'm on mushrooms and kind of just like, like something that's kind of been on my mind is like I have been debating within myself, like, am I really asexual and aromantic? Like, is this really like who I'm gonna be for the rest of my life? Because kind of background with before the experience is that in 2021, March 2021, I actually came out about my sexual abuse to my family. And so yeah, the world didn't fucking explode. Like, if anything, like I really, just looking back, I'm just so proud of myself, because like that really propelled me to just like heal and kind of just like work a lot on myself. And then also with doing like mushrooms occasionally, like I just really have grown so much in the past few years that I'm just like to this point that I really love the person I am now. So that's why I did have to do a lot of like healing until I got to this point that I was like, I'm kind of reconsidering my sexuality. Like,
yeah. So let's actually, before we talk about Tony, let's go back there. May before that, this was May of 22, then you kind of came out about your sexual abuse. had you done mushrooms before that? Oh, so was that part of, do you think that kind of helped become aware? I mean, influence you to be like, you know what? I think I need to speak about this.
Oh yeah,
Or,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Like I definitely do recommend that everyone does mushrooms, like really just for like healing purposes, because it really changed my life. Because I don't remember what year exactly I started doing them, and it's funny because looking back, like I know we do mushrooms a lot together now, but like back then I was kind of just like finding other people and we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but I was still like at least aware enough to like do the research about like, okay, this is like an intentional thing. Like you're supposed to be like in a safe place, like not like doing something
Yes,
crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would go to my friend Joe's house and do mushrooms, and it was always just like a really fucking great time. But then I would obviously like think about my trauma and just kind of be like, fuck, like this shit's,
What do I want to do about this? Or like,
yeah,
what do
like this is like, I'm just thinking about this. Like I was just, like this was, yeah, probably before, like maybe December, like during the pandemic, I would say is when I started doing mushrooms. Damn, that's so recent. I feel like, damn, but, damn, that's crazy. Yeah. But so I started doing mushrooms during the pandemic and I would have a few trips, and then I got to a point where, oh, back then, I used to be like, I actually was in therapy and I got diagnosed like with bipolar, which I don't know. I just don't feel like that's me now. Like I don't feel like I have the same mood swings I was having back then, but I definitely was like having some very severe mental health issues. Definitely be due to like the trauma I had gone through, like, and the fact that this person for years after like was still around in my life, like I had to see him. It was just like really bad. So I was like very suicidal. I like thought, I was like, yeah, I definitely am like bipolar or have BPD or something. Like I was just so unhappy.
Lots of anxiety too.
So yeah, you remember me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, lots of anxiety.
I was anxious as
You think she
fuck.
talks fast now? She was dog fast there.
Yeah, and I
Move
was like
faster.
on hella caffeine and shit, and
Yeah.
trying, oh sorry, like antidepressants, like and like all this shit like here and there. So I was just all over the place. Like I was not good mentally. So that's where I was like, okay, like maybe this, like these mushrooms will help. And then I do remember like slowly they just like started making me like more optimistic and just like happy. And then I was finally faced with like this big thing of like, okay, this like being molested has obviously like affected so much of who I am as a person, and like I'm just constantly like I was like cutting myself, like I was just like I'm just literally tormenting myself by keeping the secret. And so it was kind of like those little voices you get or whatever, like your subconscious talking to you. Like I remember just being like it was like myself talking to myself being like, yeah, but you know what, like at the end of the day, like what you went through, yes, it was horrible and you did not deserve that. But the fact that this is happening to you, like, this is your fault. Like, you're like, yeah, like you went through shit, but like your reaction to shit and how it affects you, like, that's your choice. Like, if you want to be this fucking depressed and anxious, like, that's you doing it to you. And it's like, and you're the one keeping yourself like this because you're being a fucking pussy and not speaking out about what happened. So it was like, you need to grow the fuck up and like come out so you can, you know, at least know that like if your mom doesn't believe you, whatever, at least you fucking are like living your truth and like being straight up about what happened to you. Because like you cannot, like, it was just like a very obvious thing of myself being like, do you not realize how much like this is killing you? Which sucked. So
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck. Like, so then it was just like, yeah, months that I was just like, God, like,
I have to do it.
I have to tell
come
her. And then
out.
I think that's when the first person I told was my friend Joe. And because she's like my best friend. So I was just like, dude, like, I have to tell you about this thing. And then I remember it was like, after I told her, then it just like launched into like even more anxiety because like for months I was just like, oh my God, like trying to eat. I even had moments where I would like distance myself from her because I was just like, oh my God, like you fucking know my secret. And like, what if you just like get mad at me and then just like tell my mom what happened and you just like fucking ruin my life? Like all this like crazy shit that I just like had that I was just like, oh, like I just can't have this come out. So I was just always like paranoid about it. And she was just like, no, like you can trust me. Like,
yeah,
like relax and just like know that like you can talk to me about this. So it was definitely my BPDS was just like in between, like, oh, I need to tell her everything. I need to just talk about what's going on. But then also just like, oh no, like I can't trust her. Like I need to just like stop talking and just like kill myself
To keep your
to keep the secret. Yeah. Cause I was so scared. And then I think
And you were scared of
just like,
no one believing you?
no, I guess no one believing me or just of what would happen when it came out. Yeah. Like how, because
Something would
he
happen.
was so like involved with my family and like financially too. So it was just like,
oh shit, yeah.
bad that I was just like, if he's out, like who knows, like what's gonna happen? Like, is my mom even gonna like believe me?
Or it could just ruin other shit that your mom's been mad about, finding something.
I don't know. Like it was.
So yeah. And now, what would you like? I mean, you realize that nothing's worth keeping that secret, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like especially on like that big mushroom trip where I was just like, yeah, no, like I gotta be real about this.
About
like
to myself.
Yeah, like I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like I was like, well, this is actually really dark. But as I was building up to telling my mom, I remember being like, okay, like I'm gonna tell my mom, and if she doesn't believe me, then I'm going to kill myself. Like that was literally my plan. Like I had done the research. I had bought like my supplies. I had them ready. And it's crazy, but I told my friend Joe about this, like, which she was kind of just like, obviously very concerned, but she actually went on a few years later to work at the suicide hotline. But it's more of, I think she was trying to just not to freak me out. So I would still keep her close and like keep her in the loop. But I know, like looking back, that if I really was about to fucking do it, like she would have stepped in, like for sure. But yeah, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna tell my mom, and if she doesn't believe me, then I'm gonna fucking die. Like that's it. Like I'm ready.
That's a plan. Because at least you get that, at least prepares you, makes you do it. Yeah, that's so fascinating.
It was crazy.
Then you did, and I don't know if you remember this. I swear to God, I'm thinking this. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. You told me about it before, like the day before you told your mom.
The day after.
Oh, it was the day after.
Yeah. So okay. I'm like, maybe I will go into like the whole timeline, I guess. So I think I was like, I was making the plan. I told Joe. I think like a month later, I like built up the stage to tell like my friend Kevin, and like and then like I remember we were just crying at the park, and I was just like, okay, like at least even though I'm like planning to die if my mom doesn't believe me, I'm like, on the other hand of it is that she does believe me. Everything works out. He goes to jail. I have my friend support. And I was like, and maybe even like if I, in the end, I'm just like really heartbroken, but I'm like, I actually don't, like, I shouldn't die about this. At least I have Joe and Kevin to like fall back on, and maybe I'll just stay with them or something. So I was kind of just trying to build up until like I got to the point of telling her. And I remember maybe a week before, I called the cops, and I like tried to file a police report, and I just like they were just like giving me advice on like what to do and how to do it. And they were just like, yeah, like, so you actually can't do it over the phone with us. Like they were like, you have to like, no, you're gonna get so pissed off at this. They were like, you have to like actually call like the station in your whatever jurisdiction or something. Yeah. And then like you need to like file the report with them directly. But like, yeah, here's like the stuff that I was just like, okay, fuck. But then I was like, that was huge that I just got on the phone with the fucking police person to be like, this is the situation. What do I do?
So I was like, I just got raped.
Yeah.
What do I do? Oh, you need to call this number. Yeah. They're only in
straight
on
up.
Wednesdays
That's
and
literally
Fridays.
no, and it gets even worse with that because. So yeah, I was like, holy fuck, like now even like I can't take that back. Like I just put it out there like into the universe. Like this is like she was obviously taking some notes. Like there's like I was like, even if I don't follow up with the actual police, like what if someone just looks through records and they come and ask me questions, or they come to my house? I don't know. I was just so freaked out. So I was like, oh fuck. Now I have to tell her. And then I was telling Joe, like, I need to do this. Like I was just like, I'm going crazy. Like I can't take not telling her anymore. So I think it was March 14th, 2021 that I did. So I told Joe, I was like, hey, so I'm like babysitting my siblings right now, but I really want to do this thing, but I have to go to the station or whatever. So then she was like, I'll come over, I'll watch the kids. So yeah, best fucking friend for real. And then I literally left, and then I went to the police station in my jurisdiction, whatever. Tell me why. So I go up to the office, it's closed. I call and I'm like, hey, so I'm here to file a police report. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, just like stay right there. Someone will be there soon. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm just waiting in the parking lot. And then a fucking cop pulls up next to me and literally, because it's COVID, he's like, yeah, you just stay in your car right there and I'll stay in my car right here. And like, we'll just literally talk on the phone. And looking back, I'm like, you guys made me fucking come out here and like wait like an hour for the cop to arrive for this when I could like just fucking talk to me over the phone if that's what it was gonna be. Like, I don't know if it's because like they needed to like see me or something. And
it's ridiculous. Also, it's like trauma. I mean, even though it's like ongoing, it's basically the equivalent of like being raped or like, and they're just like, okay, hold on. There's no,
and I'm
it's
not
like
even,
a robot.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
there's no sympathy. There's no,
Yep.
oh, fuck, I'm sorry what
Yeah.
happened to you. Like, tell me more about it. There's
Exactly.
like, what's your name? Where are you from? Okay, hold on.
Stay right there. An officer will be there soon. And I'm like, bro, like, what the fuck? Like, after, like, it was so bad. Like, I'm really so proud of myself for, like, sticking through it because I remember after even, like, 15 minutes, I was like, no, fuck this. Like, this is a sign. I should just go home. But then I was like, no, like, I need to do this. Like, I just kept reminding myself, like, I need to do this. I was just, like, talking to Joe the whole time. And it was really crazy. And then, yeah, I put in the report. And
okay.
I was
then you
like,
told your mom?
yeah, literally that same night, like I was just like, okay, fuck, like I just did the real fucking thing. So now I just had to tell her. And then she was getting off work at like, I think 11 that day. So I remember, Joe left.
So nerve-wracking.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
and being like, and if she doesn't believe me, I'm just gonna tonight's the night. Like I'm gonna kill myself. So
that's rough. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I made it. But yeah, so she like comes home and then I remember I just went in and I just like looked at her and she's just like, what's wrong? And then I just started like crying and she was just like, holy shit, like this is like, what the fuck happened? Like, especially because like I was so like quiet. Like, I mean, we weren't really close at all. Like, I do really love that we're much closer now after everything. But at the time, like, she was very concerning because it's like, what's going on?
And you're good at hiding. You were good at hiding, like
all my mental illness. I was just never home, like, anytime. But I definitely had it in my mind, like, if my mom doesn't believe me, like, then what's the fucking point of living or doing anything? Like, if the one person who is supposed to, like, be there for me the most, like, wouldn't believe me, like, it was just really gonna tear me apart. But luckily, like, I mustered up, like, finally through tears, like, told her. She just instantly believed me. Like, it was such a crazy night. And then I remember, like, for weeks after, I was just terrified of like what he was gonna do. But it's crazy and kind of bittersweet in a way because he like instantly admitted, like, he didn't deny it at all. And then he was like, oh, like, if it makes Diana feel better, like, I'll come and just like shoot myself on your front lawn, like on my knees in front of her. And I was like, no, like, I don't fucking want that either. Like, I want you to like go to jail. But unfortunately, I found my police report and I went and I like filed for like a protection order, like restraining order, which like it really fucking sucks, like how hard it is to like get that shit and like really get action. Like my like real fucking like empathy for just like people who are in active situations like of domestic violence and shit, and they just like, it's so fucking hard to get any response from like legally. So I've filed my restraining order and they're like, okay, now you have to like serve it to him before you like have your court date where it gets approved. And he basically just like goes on the run, like disappears. So he didn't get served. So I show up to my Zoom court. First thing they ask is like, where is he? And I'm like, oh, I didn't get a chance to serve him. They're like, oh, okay, well, case dismissed. Pretty much. And I was like, okay, well, but I had my mom like right next to me, so it was like she was still supporting me. But yeah, that was crazy. So then my restraining order got dismissed, and then I remember calling like for months after, like trying to call the police department and being like, hey, any update on my case? You know, like no one's reached out to me about it since I filed the report, and to this day nothing has happened.
Okay.
So
but he's out of your life.
Yeah, but he's out of my life. Yeah, no one talks to him.
You're not fearful of him, right? Or a little bit. So that's back of the head.
That's something like, I'm not scared that he's gonna like really harm me, but sometimes I think one of my biggest like worries, but I'm really just working on it within myself because I kind of just have to be like, well, if that happens, like, I just have to figure it out. But I do really worry that like one day when like in a few years he does have the opportunity to like come back into like my family's life, and then I don't know,
What will
like
happen then?
yeah, like, and I'm just like, if someone is like, yeah, like sure, like it's, but I don't think that would happen though. And yeah, that's even like dumb as fuck to say. Like I don't know. Yeah,
I know you have that self-doubt, but you're one of the, like, your family orbits around you.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah.
Like, they support you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. But I just always do. I'm just like, what if in a few years or something, like people just like, it's not that recent or anything. But yeah, no, I'm like, I shouldn't even worry about that because it's just not
useful.
Yeah, exactly. That's really crazy to me when I think back. I'm just like, wow, never got any justice, but at least I like healed within myself and like did what I needed to do,
which is by far the most important thing. So once you came out to your mom, did it feel like it must have been like a massive weight was fucking off your shoulders?
Oh yeah, and it was just like so much happened. I remember, so the next day, I was cleaning your house, gonna clean your house, and I remember,
this was like the first time we talked about outside. I mean, we talk about small talk, like, oh, hey, are you doing this weekend? But we never talked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I just unloaded. I remember, like I was just like, and I just remember looking at your face and you were just like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And, it's just so funny because even now, like I think something that you've said recently is just like, yeah, whenever people like talk and they're just like unloading like that, it's really like, especially when it's something major, it's like really just them telling themselves. And looking back, I'm just like, yeah, that was really me. Honestly, like I was telling you, but also telling myself, like, here's the situation and here's what I just fucking did.
Right.
Like,
right.
And here's what just fucking happened. So, and I think I was just like worried about like, cause he knew like I worked here obviously.
Yes.
So I was like, if he sees my car on the street, like he's gonna, yeah, or something. So I was just like really concerned for a while.
Those secrets just make you, I mean, they keep you trapped.
Yeah.
They keep you trapped in your head.
I'm so against secrets now. I can't have a secret.
Mm-hmm.
I literally can't have a secret. Sorry.
Yeah, I that resonates with me too. Like there's no reason, like it's way more torturous for you than anyone you're not disclosing shit to. I'm good. So once you did that, you started being a little bit more free of like yourself. And then now let's go back to New Year's party.
Yeah. So yeah, that all led to like a bunch of healing. And then New Year's, I'm talking to Tony and then I'm just like, yeah, so you're a sex therapist. So like, I got this thing I'm going through. Like, I just don't know. And he's just like, yeah, like, let's talk about it. So then I'm just talking to him about like my journey with like being molested, like just being aromantic asexual, just like all my thoughts on it, just like how I feel and how I was just like very like touch averse. And I was just like, I just don't know. Like, I just wonder if like one day I will be okay with like people touching me. And he was like, this is a safe space. And if you're okay with it, like, I'm happy to explore, like, just touch with you. So I was like, and I remember being on my shoes being like, but then I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, why not?
Because you guys were like sitting, I mean, everybody's around. Yeah.
It's like dark. Yes. We're like laying down kind of.
Yes. And everyone,
like,
this is not a sexy party. This is everyone's clothed.
Yeah. Everyone's clothed. I was literally wearing like, I have like this full bodysuit that's like, has like a zipper on the side. Like I was fully covered. So he's like, we can explore touch. So it was just like, and he was very much like during it just being like, and remember that while we're doing this, like, this is your body. If you want me to stop, I will stop. Like, you just have to say stop. Like, it's all up to you. Like, you're in control. Like, it was literally just saying all that while I was on mushrooms. And then like we started. So it was just like slowly like, okay, just like touch my hand. And I was like, okay, like this is new. You were like
sitting Indian style, right? Or sitting like on the crisscross
each other. Yeah. And then like slowly just like, cause the party went till like what? 6 in the morning or something. I don't know. I think I left at like 3-ish though. But then it's like went into like, okay, like I'm gonna just like caress your arm. And then I was like, okay, like this is new. And then just like, okay, like graze my cheek or whatever. Just like slow, like
And he was talking. He was like at kind of the whole time what he was going to do.
Being like, how, like, do you like this? Like, how does it feel? And I was like, yeah, no, like this is good. Like I was very much like enjoying it. And then I was kind of just like, holy shit. Like it was just literally opening a hole, like the biggest fucking door in my brain where I was just like, oh my God, like this is actually okay. And yeah, like I am in control. And if I don't like something, I'll just tell him. And like, if like I wanted it to stop, like it will stop, but I don't want it to stop. So I was just like, yeah, like I'll just let this happen. So yeah, basically just exploring touch.
So then I didn't really know this happened during the party. And then it was like the next time Diana comes over, she's like, I need to talk to you. She's like, so me and Tony at your party, we were touching, and like she's explaining what she was going through. And then she's like, what do I do, Grant? What do I do?
Exactly. Because Grant has always been very open with me about like being like a sex positive person, and just like you were just so open that I was like, okay, I always like look back and I'm like, it was really good for me to have you in my life, to just like have a model for like someone who is open and just like is non-judgmental, free. Like if you have sex, like you, like we were friends at that point, and I was just like, obviously because I was at your fucking New Year's party, so you were just like, yeah, this is just like my sexual friend, like she's cool. Like it was never anything like we would just talk about our experiences. So I definitely trusted and like knew that you were exactly the person who would give me advice. So, and I remember you said like it was a really good talk, obviously.
You're like, oh, I really liked it. Should I text him, and should I like explore that?
Like I was like, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
And what did I say?
You said, well, like you were like, first of all, mind blown. Like I remember you were really shocked. And this was just like a few days after, I think. And you were just like, holy shit. But you were like, no, like what you should do is like, you were like, you are, you know, this is a big thing, and like you should not tie all of your like first sexual experiences to like just one person. Like even though that was like such a baby step, you were just like, you should explore all the steps like with different people like over time until it leads up to like the big stuff. And I was kind of like, okay, like interesting. But I really did do that. So yeah, that was January. And then it took a while that I was just like thinking about it until March. At the end of March, I remember I went out, ended up going to like Lowbrow over here in Sacramento, and then just like found this guy that I knew, and I was on my period at the time, but then I like went to his house with him and we just cuddled. We just cuddled. That was it. And then I remember that was like a huge thing. And even then, like I was like really opening up about like, okay, so yeah, like I'm down to hang out, and like I might even be down to explore, but like this is what's going on with me. And I was like also like a little drunk, so he was just like super understanding, and like we just literally cuddled. And that was like, I remember the next day I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, right. I remember you were telling me, what were you thinking? Like you were saying when you were getting cuddled, you're like, you're kind of blowing your own mind.
Yeah, like I was just like, I was like, okay, like he's hugging me now, like, oh my God, like what the fuck. And like it was just like a whole night where I was just like, am I even gonna sleep? Like I don't know, but it was fine. Like it was a good experience that I was just like, okay, like cuddling is cool. And I was like, but it's not my favorite. I mean, now it kind of is. But then I was like, okay, but it's like interesting. And then I think that was my only thing. And I was just like thinking about like, okay, what do I do next? Until June. Then I went out to this club. I was out with my mom, and then it was actually the same guy, but he came and like found me there. So yeah, I'm out. I go to this club and he pulls up, we're dancing, and then I'm kind of being like talking more about my sexuality and being like, yeah, like last time we cuddled was really cool. And, you know, I've been thinking about it more, and I kind of just want to like maybe try kissing someone. So then he's obviously down. So then, yeah, we make out. It was crazy.
Yeah. So that's kind of like your first intentional makeout.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Kiss, like I want to kiss this person. He wants to kiss me. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was insane, and it was really fun, and I really liked it. And yeah, even that night, like I didn't go home with him or anything. I was just like, wow, we literally just kissed. And then I remember I was thinking about it for like weeks after, just like, oh my God, like what's next? And then and I kind of followed the advice in a way of just like at least being very slow. But then I think, yeah, a few months after, like early September, I met up with the same guy, and then actually ended up giving a blowjob. And I remember that was kind of like, I did it, and I was kind of like, that was like kind of interesting, but like I don't really want to stay the night or anything. So I just like left, and I was on my period again. So that was the funny thing about me. I was always on my fucking period. Yeah. I was like, okay, now I want to have sex. So then I think 2 weeks later, I go to Silent Disco, and I'm dancing with this guy. We're hella vibing. And yeah, I literally was just like, at the end of it, we like made out, and I was like, let's hook up. And then I would just be like, yeah, so I'm kind of feeling you, but here's just a little bit about me. And like, I've kind of like been asexual for years, and I'm kind of just like trying to, figure out what's going on. And I'm kind of just exploring and still figuring out what I like. And so they're just like, oh yeah, like you want to explore with me? Like,
you're
obviously.
like, I want to have sex just to understand my body, not because I really want to be with you, because I want to like, it's so funny.
Exactly. So I was just very much like, this is going to be like a no strings attached. Like, I don't even want you to text me or anything. So
I love the directness. The other thing is, you were definitely not looking for any romance.
No,
you were looking for sex, or like the feeling of good sex.
Yeah, exactly. Which I like. That's when I realized like I have no problem like coming or anything. And I like, with the first person I hooked up with, I was bringing my rose toy. Like I was like, I don't care. Like I was like, I need this, by the way.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck. And like he wasn't opposed to it. So I was just like, yeah. I think shortly after that, yeah, like around November, I hooked up with this other guy, and he was very much into just pleasuring the woman, which I was like, holy shit, like haven't had this yet. Hold on. So that's when I really realized how much I loved head, like receiving it. And then I was like, yeah, looking back, that first guy fucking sucked at then.
Yes,
like,
right?
Like I remember I would kind of ask sometimes and be like, like I kind of want to just see how it feels. And I was like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and this guy hooked up like twice.
I remember she told me this after it all happened. Like, because I understood that, see, it's also like you realize you're looking for sex, but you didn't want any intimacy, right? You were like, I don't even want to go there. But in that situation, it might make sense, because when you let your secrets out, then you feel free to be curious and explore. So you're like, I'm curious and exploring. But maybe the feeling of intimacy was actually more scary than the feeling of like, I can be physical and close with somebody, but maybe intimacy was a little still too scary. So you almost had to like experience your sexuality first before you felt safe to explore your intimacy with somebody.
Exactly.
So when you told me that, I was trying to encourage that. So I was like, okay, if that's how your journey's going, yeah, like if you want to enjoy sex for sex and not with intimacy, even though I knew sex with it, I knew once you have intimacy on top of sex, it's a fucking different world. But that's not you. You're like, oh, I'm exploring my sex and I don't want that. And I'm like, well, if that's not what you want, then just, yeah, keep having sex. And I said, don't be scared though, when you do feel pulled towards intimacy, like with sex, like if that starts to happen, like allow yourself to happen, but don't just try it if you don't want it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was like, I think I'm just like good. Like, I was like, I just kind of like when I fuck someone, like, I don't really want to talk to them after. Like, it's just like, like, thanks.
Yes. And what the fucking hilarious shit is knowing that she then was like demasculating men left and right at the clubs. Because she would be like, do you want to have sex? But I don't want to even fucking know your name, and don't text me after, and don't do this shit. So if a guy even is looking for sex, they kind of are like, well, You made them feel used or objectified,
Yeah,
right?
low key. I mean, yeah. Or like, I really love to like just like, because I'm really into like some weird shit. I'm being honest. So I remember like, I know that you love this.
I
but
love this. I love this. If you want to know how to demasculate a man, she'll tell you how.
I would like sometimes just be like talking to guys at the bar or something, and then just be like, yeah, so you're kind of like hot. Like, do you suck dick? They're like, no, like I'm straight. Like I would never suck dick, and I'm just like, sucks, cause that would be really hot. Yeah. So there's just kind of like,
They're super confused, right? When a girl's like, oh, dudes that suck dick turn me on. As a dude, you're like, I don't know. How do I fulfill that fantasy of hers if I can't do it myself, or if I'm too scared to say I like it?
yeah, exactly. So I was just like, yeah, I was just funny as fucking crazy as hell, as I put it. I
Right.
had been having some weird experiences, and then I hooked up with this guy. We had met on like a hookup app, and we had like really good sex. And I remember I was like, like I actually would do this again. Like, he checked all the boxes, like had his own place, like, and I remember when I went to his place, I was like, oh, like, it's like a really nice place. Do you live alone? And he's like, yeah, like my cousin just stays with me sometimes, but I live alone. And I was like, that should have been a red fucking flag for me. But but at the same time, like, I like the place didn't give like a woman lives here. It didn't give a woman lives here. And then I'm like in the shower getting ready to go to my job, and my phone starts ringing. We're on a text only basis.
Yes, you
like,
barely know the dude.
Yeah, and I was like, and you're even lucky I'm like texting back, because I usually don't. I got out of the shower and I have a voicemail, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
what's this voicemail?
Hey, I don't know who you are, but I just wanted to let you know that ex-girlfriend, and I understand. But, he's able to do what he needs, but he lives with me. I live with him, whatever, same difference. We live together. I just wanted to let you know, if you're going to start a relationship with him, hugging, cuddling, meeting up with him, you should know first he still lives with me. We live together. He takes care of me, and I take care of him. We still hang out every single fucking day. And he's going to have to make a decision between you or I, because he doesn't know how to communicate. He lies. He hides. He sneaks around. And he does all the utmost disrespectful stuff to me. So that is why I'm leaving you a voicemail, because he's ruined plenty of my relationships. So I am doing the same favor in return to him, because he doesn't understand boundaries. So he wants to lie to me about you. Now he has a decision to make between a relationship and then a best friend. So I'm hoping he chooses wisely and chooses you. I really do. Because I'm going to make every one of his relationships a living hell. Because he lies, doesn't know how to communicate, but decides to ruin all of my relationships. So that is what I'm doing here in return, leaving you this voicemail. I really hope you hang out with him and smoke the weed that he and I buy together.
Damn, smoking our weed.
So
you're like, what the fuck?
And I was like, I'm not fucking answering that shit. And I just, we ghosted. I was like, no, I'm not responding. He never texted me again either, but I was like,
It makes me feel sad, because it's like, see, when she's telling you all that shit, she's really telling herself, and hopefully she gets out of that fucking situation. Because
I said, oh, girl, you're the cousin that stays here sometimes?
You're the cousin?
Oh, fuck. Damn.
So it makes sense. It's like, why you just be transparent? You're like, I want to fuck. I want to explore my body. I don't want your number. Do you want to have sex? You say yes. You're communicating your intentions.
Yeah, but that really fucking sucked. And I remember I was like feeling so guilty, because I was like, oh, am I like a home wrecker? But
look, you were honest. He wasn't honest, and that fucked him. That has nothing to do with you.
That's true.
Like, you
that
were
is true.
honest. Like,
yeah. And I think it was after that happened, after like all the other experiences I had that were just like empty, that I came and I was like, Grant.
Yes, I got to tell you. She's like, I'm not asexual anymore. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, back in May, this was like good.
And then I literally go through like my whole timeline of all my experiences, and you were just like, oh shit,
okay.
well. And I was like, yeah, I just don't know. Like, I was like, at this point, man, I just got this fucking voicemail. Like I just need this is just a sign I just shouldn't be sexual. Like, I was just like, I just,
That's right.
I was like, I'm not going to date anyone anyways. So I was just good. And I was like, what should I do? And then like my friends at the time were like, they were like, you should maybe like seek sex with connection. And I think you kind of maybe said something like that too. Like, yeah, just like, because everyone would always talk about like, yeah, this is awesome what you're doing and glad that you're like experiencing it. But like,
and not feel shame about
yeah,
it.
and
That's
not,
super.
yeah, and like, because I was, yeah, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, this is what I was doing. But I was kind of just like, yeah, but like, I don't think I'm gonna have like sex with connection. Like, I was just like, I just don't have a desire to like get to know any of these people. Yeah, I think that was like early January, and then towards the end of January, my now boyfriend, we've been friends for a while, so and he now it's just like, yeah, I always had like the biggest crush on you, and I was like, oh well, maybe I just like tried to be oblivious to it or whatever.
No, she knew it.
But yeah,
she knew it. She just didn't. She's like, I don't want a boyfriend, even though I like this. I mean, this guy likes me.
I was just like, oh, I was just like, I'm just gonna pretend like,
Yeah.
like I'm just like, as long as you just like don't make a move, like I'm gonna just like ignore the vibe, like, and that was really just him. Like what he says now is like being respectful, because when we first became friends, I was like, yeah, I'm aromantic asexual, like this is just who I am. So he was like, okay, like I like you, but obviously you're not interested. Yeah, so he was just respecting, yeah, my lifestyle, I guess. Yeah, at the end of the month, he like shot his shot and was just like, yeah, like I kind of.
Wait, well, was it him or you? Because I remember, I thought it was
him.
like,
yeah.
And he was just like, well, do you want to just try having sex and like see what happens?
Yeah.
Just being upfront, like we're friends, we're comfortable with each other.
He's like, I know you don't want to date, so like let's just, yeah. He's like, but I'm attracted to you, and I was just like, yeah, like you know what?
Just try
Why
it.
not? Yeah. So then we kissed, and then I think that was like my first time also just kissing someone that I actually like loved, like genuinely, like I loved him as my friend. So I was like, oh, holy shit, like this is crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole different experience. So, and it's also, because also you weren't anticipating, because you were probably like, I know what sex is like without romance. I know what friendship's like without sex or intimacy. So maybe why couldn't I just mix friendship with sex? And you weren't expecting the intimacy. You weren't expecting like the connection. You were just like, why shouldn't I have sex with a friend? You know, assuming we just have sex and pleasure, but because you weren't expecting any intimacy.
Yeah. I was like, people do this all the time,
Yeah.
just like friends with benefits, no strings attached. And it's funny because like when we talk about it now, we're like, we were both so funny because we were both just trying to convince ourselves, like him too, like he was just like, yeah, like we're just fucking, like this is nothing like more than that. But then yeah, we had, so that was like literally the end of January, and then early February, our friend Dora goes on a trip, and she's house sitting. So and I'm house sitting for like 2 months. So we're just fucking together all the time.
Yeah, you got lucky. But also what's funny about that story is you're so open and honest.
Yeah.
You're like, because that's when you had to tell Dora that you were dating. Like, can I have visitors over? Or they said,
yeah, like visitors are fine. And then I was like, oh, what if I like, so I was like, what if I like have sex at your bed? I have sex in your bed. And she was like, like not with any like random people. And I was like, what if it's with and she was like,
what's
well,
all this going on?
I was like, well, yeah, so that's so funny. Yeah. But she was like, yeah, like, I mean, I guess.
For then you guys got to cohabitate alone during the like honeymoon period of your relationship.
It's like we got to learn a lot about like each other's like just like, yeah, living habits, just like
comfortability.
Comfort. Like it was really crazy. So we definitely have fallen in love like really hard, really fast. Like we're actually moving in together very soon. So it's but it's like, yeah, we're just both like very much like about each other. And it's like shocking for me, obviously, because like just within myself, sometimes I'm like, holy shit. Like I so recently was like, I'm at a point that I'm like, this is never gonna happen to me. And now I'm like, no, like actually I could be in this. Like I'm totally like down for this partnership, and like we're gonna just like make it work. And just like I feel like under just like your like just the things that I've seen like in healthy relationships and just like everything that you've like taught me about like your philosophy so far, like I'm just like me and communicate so well, and we just like have such like a good, like we just love each other so much and we trust each other, so it's like we just really work. So I like, it's like a whole new experience for me. Like actually the other day we were talking about it where I was just like, sometimes it's just so wild that it's like there was a point in my life that I was just like, I'm just gonna be alone forever. I'm gonna be single forever. And then I was like, also like, well, at this point, I'm gonna just like live with my mom for the rest of my life because I might as well just save, like help each other on rent. And like, you know, I'm like the boss of the house, so I'll just keep doing that. And I was like, now I'm kind of just like fully 360'd into this, like actually like I could just like live with my partner and like we're gonna have like our own bedroom, so it's gonna be really cool.
Like
I'm
no
just
one
like
else,
so excited.
no other fucking roommates.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like I'm really, yeah, like we'll find out how good we are as like long-term roommates, I guess. But I think we're gonna be fine.
Okay, I have one more question. So that's basically where you are now in your journey, which is an awesome evolution. Tell me about, separately, the side quest. Tell me about your evolution of feeling like being turned on by being a furry, or so, where did that even start? Where did that even start?
This is so funny. Oh my God. So I kind of just, I don't know, like, I really would love to go to like a furry meetup at some point and just like really talk to like people who are just like in that lifestyle, because I kind of just, I don't know, like I just get so like turned on and like fascinated at the idea of like literally being an animal. Like, I don't know, like sometimes it's not like in a perverted way at all. I hope, but like sometimes like even just like touching my cats and just like feeling like the like purring and shit, like I was just like, damn, like I kind of just like this sensation, and like humans can do that shit too. And I was just like, and there are people out there that are literally just like playing with each other as animals and then like turning it into like doggy style and shit. So even before I was having sex, I was kind of like, maybe like I would just be like an asexual furry where I'm just like, where I'm like not even like having sex, but just like exploring, like, playing and like being an animal. Cause I feel like it's just something that's so like ingrained in everyone, like where everyone's like animalistic in some way.
You're getting back in touch with your primal animal. Also, it's also like a kid would pretend to be an animal, right? Like, so anytime you're pretending about anything, I feel like it makes you feel like your younger self.
Yeah. Like roaring, growling at each other. Like it's just some crazy shit. So, but yeah, I was, yeah. And then it kind of turned into like, I was like, you know, like I'm not at that point yet, but I'm like, maybe one day, imagine I do have like a fursuit, or I just love dressing up as like
in costumes or whatever.
Costumes. Yeah. Like maybe it's just like being an actress, but I remember like even when we worked at like our job, like I always trying to talk to marketing and be like, if you guys need a mascot, I'll happily. I was like, I will dress up in an animal suit and just like dance and like mess with people. I'll like, I remember there was like some like drag race performance I saw where someone like just like got into full like cheetah mode kind of, and I was like, that's so hot. I want to learn how to like run like a cheetah. So yeah, I just like, I don't know, love being an animal.
Is there anything too, here's my question. So it's definitely the craving of like trying to pretend an animal. Does it have anything to do with anonymity at all? Meaning like, you know what I mean?
Maybe not.
Maybe like,
for me at least.
Okay, for you. Like if someone's dressed up as an animal, but you see their face and stuff, that's not any different than if someone's dressed up as an animal and you don't know like what they look like.
I think I would be totally fine playing with someone like fully costumed. Yeah. And
there's no difference.
Yeah, I guess not. Like, yeah, I'm more like your persona. Like, you're just showing yourself to me right now. Like, especially like fursuits are so fucking expensive that like the work that people have to put into that, like that's really them. Like they this is their like true authentic self coming out, and just like a symbol. Yeah,
it's
of
almost like if you're a spirit animal, why not try to be that animal or pretend at least?
Exactly.
Wow.
So I just
So
don't know. I
that's
love it.
yeah.
And like even me, like I kind of got to play more about it, like without like when Megan got me the fucking Hello Kitty suit for my
Yeah, yeah.
birthday. Oh my God. Like I was just so happy, like just to be a fucking
So
in a costume.
yeah,
But
so Kaya had her birthday and we had an electric bull and she puts on a Hello Kitty costume and is riding the electric bull for her birthday for everyone to see. It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, iconic. What can I say?
Mhm.
What more can I say?
It was awesome.
But yeah, I loved that. And then for Halloween, like I was like, you know, I really like have been tapping into like being an alpha female, whatever. So I was like, I kind of want to like be a wolf.
Ooh.
And
Yeah,
then I got my wolf costume. And I was a wolf for Halloween, and I was very in character. Like I was like growling at people, like howling. I was like just like pawing, like putting like I had like my mouth was like a half thing that comes out, so I was just like like whatever on people. So yeah, it was really cool. But I just love playing with that. So yeah,
that's great.
and I would love. And I remember like I went to like Folsom Street Fair
Yeah.
once, and I saw like furries like straight up fucking, and I was like, whoa. Yeah, that was, and I was asexual still back then, but I was like, that is really
Yeah, it's
cool. So
fascinating.
yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's great. I mean, your sexual journey is so much further than so many people's, and you are just getting started. So
I know, and I can't wait.
I know.
Can't wait to
We'll
see.
have to wait.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have another interview later down the road. And she's like, I thought I was a furry, but now I'm in this. Or
I'm like, actually, I'm just an ally or something.
something different. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being in my life. And
Thank you. Oh my God, thank
and
you.
I appreciate you doing your best to be as honest on this podcast as possible. And yeah, I think we did great here. And all right, well, time of the podcast where we take a few questions from callers. So we are going to question right now.
Hi, thank you for taking my call, and thanks for all the insightful information. I've been following you on YouTube.
Oh, you're welcome. So what is your question?
I'm wondering if you have any good suggestions for introducing sex toys into my relationships.
How long have you been in the relationship?
We have been together for about 6 months.
Interesting. Well, this is a good question.
I do think like insecurity is definitely a big thing that would probably come up like when that topic does come up in a relationship. So maybe even trying something that like you can both use together, like a cock ring that like vibrates. Or I feel like for a lot of men, it's like I'm not sure what kind of toys we're thinking of specifically, but I feel like if you're just like, oh, like maybe if I try like a butt plug, like that would be hot or something. And then maybe he's like, yeah, you know, like kind of making him think like, yeah, that would be hot. And then that is kind of...
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, a toy you can use together, that's actually a great idea because they have these novelty toys of like, a vibrator you can put in your pants that he has a remote for. And then even though those not necessarily like optimal for like orgasming, that you can use that, but it has nothing to do with his performance or insecurities. And then that just introduces the use of toys. And then it'd be much easier after that to be like, oh, what if we got a toy for the bedroom? Thank you so much. Thank you for calling in. Have you ever had that issue? Like,
no. My thing is I was gonna be like, you just do it. Like, you're not gonna lie. Like thinking about like the guy I was hooking up with for the first time I came in, I was just like, oh, I brought my vibrator.
just like,
I brought my rose toy. Yeah, I'm like literally.
this doesn't work for you.
I'm like, here's my toy, like, and I'm gonna use it. So let's figure it out. And then yeah, I mean, they're kind of just like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, if you're gonna be like opposed to it, then I'm just not gonna fuck you.
Yeah,
like that's it. Like I'm just like, oh,
yes,
red
yes.
flag for me. Yeah.
Diana is this person who has some of the highest confidence in what she does around. All right, next we have another caller.
Hey, Diana and Grant. I do have a question about sexuality as our most authentic self. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that more. Is it because it says something about how our sexual fantasies reveal something true about us that isn't apparent
Yeah, that is a great question. Yeah, that's a pretty deep question too. I feel more like my authentic self is because for a couple reasons. One is you're usually in a high level of safety with that partner you're with. So you feel very safe, comfortable, and not ashamed to pretend, right? Like to pretend and be a character or try something new. A lot of shame around sex. So when you are able to remove shame from your life in any way, sexual or not, you start to realize how to be your individual self and not the self that the society or your tribe wants you to be, right? I think being your authentic self is removing yourself from the group's expectations of what you should do and learning I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. And then that every step you do helps you feel more like yourself.
And I think it's also just really good to, like, in terms of kink and just how that is very specific to each individual person. So it's like, oh, like powerful, like CEOs that like love to be like dominated, maybe even just get so like overwhelmed by being in a position where they have so much power and so much control and like everything is on them that like their safety is going into a headspace where like they don't have any control.
I had this woman explain to me why BDSM was so freeing for her, because she's like, Grant, my normal day, I'm constantly thinking of my kids, my work, my job, my bills I have to pay. And there's this level of, I need to always feel in control to feel safe in my everyday life. But if you can imagine in the world of BDSM where all the control is taken from you, where you're tied up so you're restrained. Maybe you have a blindfold on so you can't see, right? Maybe you are suspended so you're not even touching the ground, right? And what that does is it removes all control from you, where you have to just surrender to it. It's almost like meditation, where you get to a state where you don't feel all those thoughts in your head anymore. You just get to feel this state of in the moment. You can't think of the future. You can't think of the past. You just feel this state of in the moment. And being able to go there mentally makes you realize that you can be both of those people. You're not stuck in a world of feeling like you must always be in control. So
I feel like it also kind of has to do with like and this is being like authentic, like being like your genuine self, because like when you are with someone and you're like connecting like that and you're like looking into each other's eyes, just like kissing and stuff, and it's like especially making that eye contact is just like I know it like sounds like bullshit, but it's like real when you're just like you can see into the person's like soul or something and like really feel them.
Yes.
And like
I mean, now that you say that too, one of the most intense experiences I think that you can do is when two people are like fucking or having sex and looking in each other's eyes while they both simultaneously come together. Like there's something that you're just like, oh, we are connected almost like forever in a way, right?
Right.
Like it's in a moment that you're never going to you're never going to feel more connected to somebody than that moment. And you understand yourself when you do that. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for the questions. All right, we have another caller, and let's go ahead and take her question.
Hey, Grant and Diana. I was wondering what you guys thought about sex playlists, if you feel like they enhance things, or like playing a specific song, if you feel like it is helpful, if you've made one, what your experiences are with it. Thank you.
That's an awesome question. You go first.
Okay. So I definitely think music during sex is very, very important. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes like we'll start and then it'll be like silent and I'm kind of like, no, we like start the music, please. But then the playlist is very important. So like one of my favorite ones is called like Latin erotica, where it's just like, you know, like Spanish speaking, like sexy beats, and like I really like that one. But then I can also sometimes get into like there's this playlist I like called like tantric and orgasmic. That's like just like sensual beats. I've also had experiences where like my partner Joey has actually really been into like cyberpunk music recently, which is like kind of like video game type of like techno stuff. And we've been listening to that, and there was like a song at one point that I remember it was just like the build up, because it's like literally like video game music. Like I was just like, whoa. And then yeah, I just like
So worked well.
I orgasmed when like
Wow.
the beat dropped or whatever. And it was very intense.
interesting.
And I was like, holy shit.
Video game music, like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
You're fucking a Super Mario Brothers.
Not like Super Mario.
No, I know.
Oh my god, that would be no, but actually, maybe actually, I guess I won't knock it.
So,
I'm gonna try it.
I have
Yeah,
I have a lot to talk about this subject. Like if you go to Disneyland and you played one song every time you went to Disneyland, but you didn't really play it outside of Disneyland, when you hear that song, if you played it, it's going to make you feel really good because your brain associates it with those past experiences. So my sexy playlists, I kind of reserve them usually for different sexy times and the different moods, because it instantly gets me into the mood because it's always representative of these awesome past experiences. So I have multiple sexy time playlists, but I feel like music in general is lubrication for your brain and lubrication for the mood you want to do. So, but I also think it's good to experiment with different music while you're fucking, because you might be having sex heavy metal and not expect it to work as well as it does. So I think it's good to definitely have sexy time playlists, but also spend some time experimenting with new music, most likely with your partner that you're comfortable with. So if you're like, because you're going to have times when you're like, no, this is reminding me of my grandma.
Oh my God.
So you're like, change it. And that's going to be most comfortable with somebody you're already comfortable with. Yeah, but that's a great question. Thank you for the questions. All right, that concludes our first interview and this episode of My Sexy Self-Care. But before we go, I do want to give a big thank you to Diana, not just for being in my life, but for also being vulnerable and honest and sharing her past on this podcast for you. I have found that the more I embrace my past sexuality, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the horrible, and the more I can be honest about it and speak it, the more I can embrace and take steps towards the sexual self I want to be. And saying that, if you do have a question or want to write into the show, you can at mysexyselfcare@gmail.com. And just a reminder not to take life too seriously and that it's supposed to be fun. And I'm telling you this because I'm really telling me this. Here it is, your daily dose of Dharma.